And Noah was a good guy. Noah was a guy that God could trust. And he goes to Noah and he says, Noah, I want you to go build an ark because you're a good guy. I find favor in you. Go and build that ark.
Wait, what?
The fact is, though, is that that's not actually accurate. That's not what the Bible actually says.
Did you know that your life is a lie?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Seth, and this is a little bit of faith. Now, we're moving away from the Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel story. We're going on to the next section, the next story, which I think is one of the most known stories in the entire book of Genesis, and that is the story of Noah's Ark. But before we get into the main part of the story, kind of like what we did with Cain and Abel, I want to just take a few seconds to reevaluate and kind of really understand what this story actually is trying to tell us. And the first way I want to do that is by looking at who is this guy named Noah. Now, most of you, if you ever went to VBS or you went to Sunday school or you watched any VeggieTale videos or you did anything regarding learning the Bible as a kid, then you've heard the story being told as this, that the world was a bad place. It had run amok, and Noah was a good guy. Noah was a guy that God could trust, and he goes to Noah and he says, Noah, I want you to go build an ark because you're a good guy. I find favor in you. Go and build that ark.
Wait, what?
The fact is, though, is that that's not actually accurate. That's not what the Bible actually says.
Did you know that your life is a lie?
If you don't believe me, let's dive into it, okay? So this is Genesis chapter 6, verse 9 and 10. It says, this is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right, first of all, it's crazy names for kids. I get mixed up with Gregory, Gabe, and Olivia. I can't even imagine having 3 sons that are, especially one's name is Ham. The fact is that, okay, if you notice how in verse 9, what does it say that Noah was? It says that he was a righteous man.
They think he's a righteous dude.
This is not the same thing as saying that he was a good guy, because the Bible has a way different perspective and a much deeper understanding of human beings and how we are internally. The fact is that you and I have a term, we just have the word good. And that can mean many different things. And that's the problem. Is that, you see, if you call someone good, there's many different ways you can break down what that word good means. It can mean that he's a good guy, as in like he has a big heart. He's a nice guy. He always looks out for other people. If you say this guy's a good guy, meaning that he stands up for what is right, that doesn't always mean that he's a perfect guy, right? Well, the thing is that when we oftentimes tell the story of Noah's Ark, we oftentimes describe it as Noah was a perfect guy, right? Like Noah was a guy that God looked down and he was like,
boom, I like you. I don't know how you turned out so well, but I like you.
That's not exactly how that turned out. God looked down and saw the world was so evil, and he picked out Noah out of all the people and said, this is the best guy that I have living right now. So it doesn't mean that Noah was perfect. Only Jesus was perfect. This means that Noah was a flawed individual just like you and me. This tells us that Noah was a dad just like I was, who probably yelled at his kids when they weren't exactly in the wrong. This means that he was a guy who had a shady past. This is a guy who probably lost his cool every now and then. This is a guy who made mistakes all throughout his entire life. He was not perfect. He was extremely flawed. And as we'll find out, if you go to the end of the story, he's extremely flawed. But see, this is a huge message of hope for us, and that is the fact, if Noah was perfect, that means that you and I could not find ourselves in this type of story. If Noah was perfect, if he was above reproach, meaning he was an outstanding human being, that means that there would be no hope for you and I, because what we would sit back and think is, wow, that means that I have to be absolute perfection. That means I have to be above and beyond what every human being living right now is in order for God to use me. That's not true. God oftentimes finds the most normal, flawed, messed up individuals, and he uses them, he calls on them, and he transforms them through that call. And guess what? That's exactly what God is doing for you and to you right now. You can't look back and say, I'm so flawed. Noah was flawed. You can't say, I don't know what I'm doing. Noah didn't know what he was doing. The other thing that a lot of people forget is the fact that it never rained prior to the story of Noah. Up until that point, to what we know of the Bible, it never rained. So when God tells Noah to go build an ark, that's a huge, huge, huge thing to ask of him, because what's a boat? You know, what is rain? We're going to get to that next week. But if if you're sitting here and you're like, okay, I don't know what God wants me to do, guess what? Noah didn't know either. If you say I'm too flawed, Noah was also flawed. God uses people like Noah to do his work all the time, and he wants to use you too. And you say to yourself, well, I can't imagine God, using me for something as big as building an ark and saving all the animals. But the thing is guess what? God absolutely has something like that planned for you. You just got to be open to it. You just got to be willing to go the distance with them. You just got to be willing to just open your life up and say, God, use me how you want to use me. Use me in a way that you built me. Because God's the one who's ultimately going to be able to do that.
Hello? Yes? God? It's God.
So when you read the story of Noah, I want you to just put yourself in his shoes and realize that this is not a special human being. This is not some subhuman. This isn't some just fantastic individual. This is a guy who's just like your neighbor. This is the guy who's just like your dad. This is a guy who's just like me. This is a guy who's just like you. So guess what? He's flawed, and yet God was able to use him. And even though we're flawed, God can still use us as well. All right, guys, this has been a little bit of faith. I know this is a short one, but it's a powerful one, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, go ahead and share this video and subscribe to our channel. There's all kinds of content for you every single Sunday, every single Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever. Different videos come out different days, and they're all geared for you to help you grow and become a more mature Christian, and also to share the love of Christ that he has for you. All right, guys, have a great week. Have a great Thanksgiving. I'll see you later. Bye.